So next, let's go ahead and dive into what are some factors that may affect my overall savings. First and foremost is going to be our weed distribution. So where are the weeds in your field? Are they concentrated to certain areas like your headlands, or are they evenly distributed throughout the entire field? So this will dramatically affect the savings because your sprayer is going to be turning on and turning off more frequently with evenly distributed weeds. So if you've got weed pressure consistent across the entire field, you will see a lot less product savings than you do with weed concentrations that are focused on certain areas, maybe around waterways, maybe around your headlands. Those higher pressure areas, you'll see better savings there. So that's one factor to consider when we are looking at our potential savings. Another thing too would be our fan angles. We have wide fan angles versus narrow fan angles. So wide fan angles are going to have more nozzles activate when it sees a particular weed. So the way the system works is essentially any weed that comes into view of the camera, and it can determine that any of the nozzles in that camera's purview can meaningfully touch that weed with a product, it's going to activate that nozzle. So wide fan patterns are going to have more effect putting more product out because more nozzles can actually hit those targets. So narrow fan angles, on the other hand, are going to be more targeted, and you will see higher product savings because it's going to actually activate less number of nozzles each time it sees a particular weed. So for example, if you're using a TSL 60 or a targeted spray low drift 60-degree nozzle, you're going to save significantly more than if you were to use, say, even an ultra low drift nozzle or a low drift max nozzle that has 120-degree fan patterns on those, even if they were sprayed in the same field. Another factor that we need to consider when it comes to our product savings, or at the end of the day, is our boom height. So boom height is going to affect the savings based on how many nozzles activate depending on how high the boom is, right? So the number of nozzles activated changes dynamically based on boom position and fan angle. The recommended boom height for See and Spray applications is going to be roughly 20 inches above the crop or roughly 20 inches above the ground, depending on if you've got any sort of canopy or just spraying at the ground level. Last but not least, there's several settings inside the machine itself that actually affect how much product we save using the See and Spray. Some of those settings are going to be the weed size filter. So essentially your sensitivity settings is what we've referred to it as in the past. So if you choose to run at the smallest setting to detect weeds in the field that are really, really small, so setting your weed size filter to the most aggressive setting, you will see less savings, and you're going to actually see even maybe some false positives in some cases. So we need to be wary of that, but also just make sure that we're hitting what we're trying to hit. Also, you may see more or less product savings depending on what size buffer zones you choose. So we've got small, medium, and large buffer zones in both length and width. You'll see less savings with wider and longer buffer zones, as you would kind of imagine.